drug cartels are trying to like spread around their ways of income. There's like transportation of drugs or whatever, but also on the other hand, there's like all these like different layers of things that they can do to clean the money. So since we were aware of that, what we did was like to be like super lay low and be a super small crew. Also talk to the police and talk to the different like government departments that they were like involved on that area.
Hi, and welcome to Chasing the Same Sun, Adventures in Global Filmmaking. I'm Lagan Sebert, one of the founders of Hometeam, and today we're talking to Xavier Cunilleras, a filmmaker based in Mexico City. He goes by Xavi and has dedicated his career to creating films that inspire positive change in the world. His most recent project, El Guardián de las Monarchs, or The Guardian of the Monarchs in English, does exactly that and can be seen worldwide right now on Netflix. The film tells the story of an activist dedicated to protecting monarch butterflies in Mexico, facing threats like illegal logging, drug trafficking, and corruption that endanger both the monarchs and the local communities. The documentary takes a poignant turn when the activist, Gomez Gonzalez, mysteriously disappears, leaving behind a legacy of environmental activism and a cloud of unanswered questions. Well, Xavi, thank you so much for being a guest on our podcast here. I was really excited to reach out to you for this for a number of reasons. We've worked a lot in the past. I just had a chance to watch El Guardián de los Monarcas on Netflix, and it was amazing. And rather than me try to describe what it is, do you mind just telling us a little bit about what that documentary is about?
Sure. So The Guardian of the Monarchs, it's a documentary that was produced by Netflix. It's about the story of Homero Gomez Gonzalez, which is environmentalist, passionate activist dedicated to the protection of the butterfly monarchs in a sanctuary that it's in Michoacan, which is like kind of center of Mexico. And so he was involved during his process of protecting the native land and the forest and everything through many different situations. And he was found dead.
And so you were the cinematographer on the feature. So it's a feature documentary on Netflix, available worldwide. I think pretty much almost anybody could get it. Pretty much everybody has Netflix, as far as I know. So very much available. How'd you get involved in the film?
So it's funny because actually meanwhile we were doing a project with you guys that it was called Periodistas, the journalist for Google. I hired a producer. She was involved on a project that it was this documentary and everything, and they were looking for a director of photography. And then since the director is half Indian, half Italian, but born and raised in Mexico, he had like this kind of I don't know, mixed back of our backgrounds. So she thought that it was like the perfect fit of a person that it's like cinematic, but also like creating a structure and everything. So she invited me to have a coffee at the office, and we hit it off. They just told me that it was like a documentary about nature and about butterflies and everything. And then I don't know, I just like finished the interview, and then we had a lunch with him. And right from there, he was telling me, yeah, we're going to work together. It was a really long project, actually. It was like, I was involved with it 2 years and a half. So first of all, we began on November, like late October, November, which is when there's the monarch butterflies are coming to Mexico. So we shot that just to have like a bit of idea of
right, like a proof of concept, kind of.
Yeah. And then we did like the 3-4 main interviews, which was the brother, the three brothers and the wife. And then they were like kind of mixing everything, and then they create like the story and all the recreations and everything. And that happened like 4 or 5 months later. It was pretty interesting. It was my first time that we had that opportunity to usually when you do either like a more commercial project or like a fiction project, it's like you put all the energy on these 6, 7, 8 weeks, and then you just there without the capacity to like lay back and review and see how we're gonna do things. So for me, that was a really interesting process.
That's amazing. I didn't realize. So, like, so the connection actually came through it was the Periodistas a Pie. So the Google project that we worked on together, which was actually had, you know, indigenous rights associated with it as well.
Yes, yes, actually, yes. So it was like actually was a journalist and an advocacy lawyer that they were like related to Tarahumaras, which is like this indigenous community that lives
Right.
in the mountains, that they are like well known for running with like no shoes or almost like kind of rubber shoes. She thought that since I was interested or I was related to a project about like nature, environmental protection and everything, I was like the right fit to enter on that project. No?
Yeah, I actually like it does seem like there's a lot of like crossover. It seems like, you know, just in dealing with these indigenous rights groups and these environmentalists, there in Mexico, and maybe it's just from an outsider's perspective, like it does feel like there's an element of danger.
Kinda. So the thing was that right from the beginning, we were aware that there was like this kind of tension and situation, which is that in general, like drug cartels are trying to like spread around their ways of income. So there's like transportation of drugs or whatever, but also on the other hand, there's like all these like different layers of things that they can do just to be able to either clean the money or either have more profit from any other source of income that they can have. No. So since we were aware of that, we were at production, and also Netflix was, as you guys, when we shot there, they were like pretty concerned about that. So at the beginning, what we did was like to be like super lay low and be a super small crew, and also talk to the police and talk to the different like statements or government departments that they were like involved on that area. As we move along through production, there were situations where we were like advised to not do. So let's say, for example, like when the sun was like setting, everyone was like, okay, so you have to go to the hotel. And sometimes I remember that we were in a hotel pretty close to the reserve where all these monarch butterflies arrive. So we were at night, like with bonfire and everything like closed and just like chit chatting about what we did during the day. And we were hearing like trucks, like a lot of trucks, like coming back. So we didn't knew, but we thought that it is mentioned on the documentary that there were like probably like all these trucks like loaded with like illegal harvest wood that probably that were like protected by the cartels, no? But in general, we didn't have any kind of problem, even though that, for example, the spot where he was found dead, it's we see it a couple of times, which is like a little tiny like dig on the ground, but since we had to shoot it at night, that recreation, also they told us you cannot be here, so we had to go outside of Mexico City, rent a space where they harvest like, I don't know, like corn or whatever, and then
Yeah.
we had to dig a hole there and
Right.
then create the same kind of hole with the same kind of background, similar. So we were able to like have all the police and all the wire and cables and police
Right.
and ambulance and everything. So
Yeah.
that's why it was not difficult. It was not dangerous, but there was that situations that it was a balance between being production friendly and being wise in terms of
And being
security.
safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to ask you about the recreations too, because I thought the recreations were done very, very beautifully and cinematically. And like a lot of times with these types of recreations, I feel like they can get cheesy, but these didn't feel cheesy at all to me.
It was, to tell you the truth, it was from the period that I mentioned previously of all these interviews. And then after 3 or 4 months later, we did begin to do the recreations. There was like a lot of information that we really learned through these interviews, and it gives us like hints. For us, the most important, the most difficult situation was like, so since we are doing a project related to a person that is already dead, how we are able to represent him without seeing his face. So it was like all the time. It's like okay, so we do it through silhouettes. We do it through out of focus. We do it through just like all the time on like a back shot or whatever. So we had like a lot of back and forth with that. And that was for me one of the most challenging, or for us, one of the most challenging like approaches to the project. And at the beginning, we thought that to do like everything with as I mentioned, with like silhouettes and like trying to like do a lot of contrast and slashed light and everything. But we thought that it was gonna be against a bit like documentary and authenticity and everything. So little by little, also like finding out in the shot, we thought that it was like kind of having all these like super shallow depth of field, and then always having these kind of lateral like kind of pillars or like a weight on one side of the frame and then leaving the other like a bit out of focus and then like moving it. So that's why we have like all these like I don't know, playful foreground background like images.
No, that's great. And so when you were attached to the project, was it already fully funded by Netflix, or it sounded like you had to do a proof of concept and
We
get it
have to
sold
do
in?
proof of concept, and also Bernardo Loyola, which is the head of documentaries at Netflix, had an interview with Emiliano, which is the director, and Eduardo Diaz, that is the producer. And we just like pitched to him what was the idea and the concept and how we're going to shoot it. And he was like preoccupied more just with, so how dark it's going to be the interviews. You're going to hold it's the contrast. And it was like really straightforward conversation, which I really liked. So when I was hired, we began to shoot like 2 months later
Right.
or like month and a half later. So yeah, it was like already like settled in.
Yeah. I mean, I want to move on to talk about some other things too, but it's
Sure.
a fascinating project. And, anybody who's listening, I would encourage you to watch it, because I think it's one of the things I loved about it is it's a nature documentary. It's like a true crime documentary. It's got so many different, elements to it. And it's also just the migration of the butterflies is such a, uh, it's just a metaphor. It's a symbol of like the greater like climate change. It's very deep as far as like it deals with a lot of different complex topics.
Totally, yeah. That was one of the things that we were like thinking all the time to be true to the mainly to the story of the family, the legacy, the all the environmental protection that Olmedo was doing, but also on the other hand, all these like different, as you mentioned, different layers and topics of story that are related to that, which is like yeah, the butterfly, aside from that it's transnational and it's crossing borders and it's going on top of deserts and everything, which is like really interesting. It's like usually you think that a butterfly lasts for a week or 10 days max. So when they know that they are about to travel, it's the same animal that it's like changing their genetics. So it's able to stay like 2, 3 months, like flying until it lands to Mexico, and then it changed back again to like week, 10 days, whatever, life expectancy.
Right.
And then when they travel back, they change, they mutate or something genetically. So and for me also like that was like really interesting because it's like kind of, I don't know, like it's super special in terms of how you understand like life and also like an animal that it's so fragile and it's so like delicate that it's able to like kind of change their mindset and
Right.
be able to be so strong and so like committed to be able to like travel as far as their like I don't know like upbringing tells them because they that's the also that no one knows until right now specifically why, as it happens with a lot of animals, why they travel to that specific spot.
Right.
So what's there's like what's the navigation system? It's like a smell. It's like magnetic. It's like so yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things that you're kind of just in awe of nature. It's because
totally
it. I think the migration. I don't know if it starts in the United States, but I know it crosses a lot of the United States and into Mexico,
from Canada.
um, and I know. I know there's issues. It ties back to climate change as well. That the migration is affected by the changing climate. So there's a lot of meaty issues around this film for sure.
Sure. And one of the things that they were like mentioning is that they need like specific flower, which to tell the truth, I don't know how it's called in English, but it's like specific flower where they pollinate and they like kind of drink or like eat. Um, and it's like do the fact that there's like so much genetic modification in terms of the crops. It happens that usually they are around the spaces where they like produce corn or whatever. So it has been like diminishing the quantity of this food that they can find on the road. So
Right.
usually they year after year, they are like arriving less due to the many different factors as you're mentioning. So yeah, it's also like another important layer of like the that it's everything interconnected and there's like the fragility of all the different dots that are connecting this like globe.
I mean, it does feel like, again, from an outsider's perspective, it feels like the industry in Mexico City has been booming, and like starting with like some of those Y Tu Mama Tambien and like those films that like really kicked off like the independent thing. And then, but even in the commercial space, it feels like so many commercials you hear about like are going to Mexico, and the production scene in Mexico has just been getting bigger and bigger. Again, just from talking with people in the industry, like, can you just talk about how you've seen it grown?
Yeah, sure. So, in general, one of the key aspects on Mexico is like proximity to United States and Canada, and in different areas of England and everything. When in a situation from September until March, that there's like snow and there's like difficulties in terms of like weather and predictability in terms of how many hours they're going to be able to shoot, you can come to Mexico and there's like many different landscapes in terms of desert, lushy, like cityscapes. There's like since it has been like so modernized, there's also like from like really ancient or more rustic places to super avant-garde and I don't know squared and metal and crystal and everything. So that's one of the main reasons, which is like Mexico City also it's really stable in terms of weather. There's just like raining once a year, so that's a key factor. The other one is that there's like now it's that they are building the third studio, which like lots with like 12 like studios and everything, so you can like shoot there like and construct and everything, and there's like a lot of like services of like big movies that they're coming to Mexico City, which is like on the other hand, there's not that unionized crew, so you can do a lot of more hours. It's production
Is
friendly in
production
that
friendly?
sense.
Yeah.
And also like since it's that close to Los Angeles or whatever, in case that you need specific ultra specific lens, ultra specific camera or whatever, you can ship it and that's it. But it's like there's like also booming in terms of like facilities that you can have as you were like mentioning, if these underwater guys, they were like from Mexico, there's like 3 crews of underwater. There's like drones, there's like all kinds of, there's like 3 major like rental companies that you can have everything, cranes, like whatever, all kinds of cameras and everything. So yeah, it's like these factors, no, that they're like making that production it's booming.
And are you so like I know I've talked to people who do like seems to be like a lot of people who have like big, you know, production design and building big sets will go to Mexico. Like in your in your work, are you primarily like are you working on mostly documentary stuff these days, or what's kind of your focus other than, you know, the film?
So actually nowadays, aside from doing commercials that generally I prefer to do like more services, I do like documentaries, which is like I really like to, and also it's like a beautiful thing, documentaries that you can try. I have met and in general, but in documentaries more, I've made and traveled to places that it's like super difficult to find or be able to enter as another citizen, no?
Right.
Uh, and the other thing that I'm doing is that, as you see here, I have like another endeavor, which is like my studio. I have an art studio here where I do like a lot of photography, installation, and painting a bit as well. And usually, what I'm trying to redirect, it's like towards museums. So I'm doing like also projects with there's like a mainly one museum that I'm working a lot, which is like a Museum of Modern Memory and Tolerance, which is in the
Right.
center, and they do a lot of multi installations related as well to social issues. No. But it's really interesting because I can play around with like not the linearity of cinema, more like kind of different screens and different sizes, and then like creating a more like an installation, a place where the audience it's a active participant of the edit of what's happening around them, not just like a screen in front of them. That's it. They can walk and they can edit and they
That's
can
great.
turn around and everything. So that's also one of the points where I'm lately more interested, and also I think that at the end it's like there's a bridge, a link that it connects everything, which is like sometimes I think that also like that's why people like to work with me, because I have this lateral way of thinking of solving things and finding ways to like create either texture, either images, either whatever from different perspectives that it's not the usual on cinema. No.
Right. Well, it also just feels like Mexico City just feels like a really thriving artistic community. Um, I mean, what like I mean, if you like, what would you how would you describe like the film community in Mexico City?
In general, I don't think that it's oversaturated. I think that there's like plenty of space for everyone. I don't know if the future of cinema it's gonna bring us that situation. That's not totally another like I don't know like
Right. Well, I
interview
mean,
or
I'll be
whatever.
honest. I've already heard people say like people are starting to like because everybody used to go to Mexico to get like the more affordable production terms, and now I've heard people say, "Oh, now we're going to Colombia because Mexico's too expensive." And when they say too expensive, it's all you know, it's all relative, but it's just it's interesting to me to just see how much it's changed just in the short period of time.
So yeah, you're right. I think that there's a situation where usually production companies are trying to figure out the way where they can squeeze their money. So in general, in Mexico, what happened is that it's getting a bit expensive in terms of maybe locations, maybe equipment and everything, there's like another places where even though that maybe they can have difficulties or any other situations, they are like working there, which as you mentioned, it's Colombia or Chile or Uruguay or whatever. But in general, like what I think that or what I'm interested in Mexico is that in general people are like since it's a huge country and also like huge town, like everyone is like kind of like not fighting, but like trying to push forward, and everyone is like really confident of their ideas, and they're like trying to like I don't know like uh, like kind of hammer like their ideas to a rock until they found like the solution to do it. And also they are like really smart in ways of solving things out. They don't have to have a lot of money, so they can like they are like they have ingenuity, no, like how to they can like kind of move it around. And also like in general, they not everyone, but there's like a lot of interest on like finding different ideas or different scripts that are not that commercial, let's say, no?
Right.
So yeah.
So with this podcast, we're talking to some of our favorite filmmakers. And I know, with you, we've worked on a bunch of different projects from, Google Android, Expedia campaign, My Kind of Country, the Google News projects together. Um, are there any of those productions that you thought were especially interesting, or any stories from, those projects you'd want to share?
Like if I have to remember one of the projects, probably is the last, because probably it's the most like recent. It's like this one that we did of periodistas, which I
Mm.
remember there was like this woman that it was like kind of a lawyer, but it was like environmental protection of the region of Tarahumaras. So I remember that it was like that type of situation where you feel powerless, because there it was like such an interesting project, but we were unable to go with her to like these remote places and be first-hand viewer or audience of what's actually happening. But it was really interesting because you see that this woman that it has it's facing a lot of troubles and probably like dangers in their life, but she's like putting all the energy, effort, and to protect what she thinks it's important, no? Which is like nature and all this like region and culture and everything.
Well, yeah, and that one specifically, I know it was in such an incredibly remote area that we didn't even have, cell reception a lot of times with with her and the indigenous group that she was working to help protect. And I mean, I love that project too, just because I thought that the visuals that you captured were just so like beautiful visuals, like, very cinematic visuals from a region that was like it doesn't even have cell service. So I thought that one was really incredible. So, after the experience with the Guardian of the Monarchs, are you looking to do more feature length work, or how has that kind of changed what you're trying to focus on?
So actually, my idea in general, it's like do more like feature length, which is like something that I'm like aiming for, like through process of meeting with different directors and everything. There's like a few projects that are on the table, waiting to have money to be raised. Also, there's like another project that we're beginning to kind of explore with the same director that we did the Warden of the Monarchs. So yes, my idea is going towards more like fiction projects that are like kind of a mixed bag of document that might that have a taste or like a genre of documentary, but
Right,
mixed with fiction, which I think that it's something that it's like that I feel comfortable, that it's a type of projects that I think are meaningful and I want to like spend time like working on. No, because at
right,
the end it's like something that if you are doing features, it's not like a commercial that you are doing just like 5, 10 days, 15 days. It's like something that you are tied to like for a long period of time. So it's have to be something that you are feeling related and you are
right.
feeling passionate about it. No?
So, what's one piece of advice you would give yourself to your younger self from 10 years ago?
So probably would be like trust your instincts and be more willing to collaborate and be more willing to um, hear what other people it's like surrounding you that it's passionate and it's like willing to have the best possible outcome of the project. It's like telling you because sometimes you're like well, myself, I'm like too narrow vision focused on aiming something to finish the day, and then sometimes you just like miss the opportunity of something that it's like coincidentally, spontaneously happening around you, and you are super laser focused, and then you are not like. So that's one of the things like trust your instincts and be more like open minded to like spontaneous things that happens and hear more of like the what your collaborating partners are like telling you. Doesn't matter who it is. At the end, you can decide if you want to hear it or continue it or not, but just be open. Huh?
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that. Um, and so in 10 years, what types of work do you want to be doing?
Um, I don't know. I think that it's like if I have to like think about it, probably would be like projects that are related to be exhibited in museums. That's one of the things which I really like this idea of I don't know not having a canvas or like a just like a one specific space where you see an image to have more like interrelated images around you, no? Something like that, which is like something that could be more easily done in a museum environment. And then on the other hand, be able to like travel and do like projects related to like documentary or like documentary with fictionalized or like dramatized or stylized or cinematic I don't know, like aspect to it that
Right.
could create this bridge between like true stories or like documentary stories to like a more like I don't know like a personal approach to
Right.
what you understand of that situation, which could be done through fiction. No, so I think
Right.
that this the for me what I see in 10 years is this balance between like being more personal and like doing projects related to the like museum, and then projects that are like kind of collaborating with a huge group of people and related to more um, documentary or like urgent social like projects that are interesting for like people to see.
Cool. That's great. I've got like 5 quick fire questions. So the idea here is like just kind of don't think too much about them. So what's your a favorite new film or show, TV show?
um, I'm gonna say film. I don't see that much shows, but one of that I saw recently, and it was related to the Garden of the Monarchs. Is called Fire of Love. It's like about a documentary about two volcanologists that they were like from France, that they were like a couple and they were like traveling all around the world and like shooting themselves in the Super 16 and everything. And they're like super funny and interesting, even though that they're like scientists. So you see the passion and the rigor of like looking for like evidence of the unknown, which is like the world and the nature and what's happening with volcanoes and everything and their relationship. It's like really interesting one.
That's amazing. I'll have to check that out. All right. If you could collaborate with any filmmaker in the world, who would it be?
Well, probably because I read a book about him, and I think that he's like the most interesting person right now to like be related to is like Werner Herzog.
Oh yeah.
Uh, he's like this type of person that inspires you. That it's like I don't know if it's 80 or something, and it's like
Yeah.
doing a lot of things, and
Yeah,
it's
he's
like
still
no, and
going.
it's like passionate, and he's like strong, and he's like super committed to the ideas and everything, and it's like an inspiration.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. That's great. Okay. Uh your favorite piece of film gear and why? And it could be anything really.
Yeah. So just to give a bit of promotion to myself, I have a rental company which is like just like renting specific vintage, super created lenses. So in general, I'm like really into like a vintage glass. So for me, it's like since usually when we shot film, it was like completely the opposite. You were looking for the most sharp image that you can have through the lenses. Nowadays is the opposite. So in digital, if you want to have like texture and something that it's like more personal, as you probably gonna see on the documentary, which we use a lot of tricks and different like lenses. It's like yeah, vintage like textury lenses.
Nice. Like, you got to give me one, like what, like the K35s or something like that, or
Lately, no, for me, the ones that I like the most is like low monomorphics,
okay,
which is like 2 times squeeze anamorphics that are like from Russia. And it's like in general, what they give you, it's like this kind of volumetric, I don't know, image. It's like since the physics of the lens, it's like the front is like kind of rounded. It's like actually creating a three-dimensional like
right,
rendering of the image. So yeah, I really like those.
cool. What is something that filmmakers in Mexico City do that filmmakers in other places don't do?
Whoa, that's a lot of natural light, really controlling. There's a lot of filmmakers that they do that, no? But it's
Right,
like, I mean, like it's the one of the places where I saw that people is able to create beautiful imagery just with bounce boards and like
right,
a black, and then just like kind of how they positioned the person against the sun and against the background, and controlling and being able to work and shape an image and light through no lights.
cool.
No?
All right. Last question. What is your next big filmmaking adventure?
My next filmmaking adventure, which is not, it's half filmmaking, half not. It's like a project that I'm gonna do for like this Museum of Modern Memory and Tolerance, which is like a 48 screen installation, which is going to be quite a challenge. And it's about like a child abuse and protection. And we're going to shoot like a lot of recreations as well and everything, and a lot of footage. And for the first time, I was asked by the production or by the project that I use AI. So it's gonna be the first time that also that it's gonna be interesting that even though that I've been there and I've been like quite curious and to learn the tools of the trade and how to use it, it's gonna be the first time that actually I'm gonna be 100% like, I don't know, working with it and seeing how we can manage to be able from an idea to an image to like create motion to the image. So yeah, it's aside from being a challenge of 48 screens and a social project and whatever, what I'm more like excited about is just to be able, if it's something that it's actually has a potential to be able to be used in like cinematic projects, no?
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Definitely curious to see how that goes. And that's a whole other subject, a whole other podcast. The
Yes.
using the AI. Yeah. So, well, this has been great. Thank you so much. Thanks, Xavi, for being on the show. And for anybody interested in learning more about Xavi and his work, you can find his links in the show notes.